Will the Special Committee on Real Property Tax Reform please come to order? The date is October 14th, 2025, and it is about 1:32 in the afternoon. Good afternoon, members. Right now, we have we have member Rollins Fernandez. Hi. Okay. So, members, will the recess Special Committee on Real Property Tax Reform come to order? I should have said. This reconvening?
Chair.
Oh, okay, sorry. I'm just reading your notes. That's okay. All right, we didn't get to roll call yet. If that's what you're going to say, Member Rollins Fernandez?
Oh, no, I was going to ask if I missed a meeting.
No, you didn't miss a meeting.
Oh, okay. So this meeting is not a reconvene meeting then?
No.
A recess meeting, right?
I think our staff put that in there
Also-
thinking that we were gonna continue tomorrow, but if we're all good chickadees today, we may not need that meeting tomorrow. Okay? So let's see,
got it.
let me
Mahalo.
finish. Huh? What?
Mahalo for that clarification.
Oh, okay. This online meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Sunshine Law. As a reminder, when your name is called, if you are not in the council chamber, please identify by name who, if anyone, is in the room, vehicle, or workspace with you today. Minors do not need to be identified. So we'll do roll call now. Committee voting members are Vice Chair Kiani Rollins Fernandez,
Aloha awina la kako. My Molokai Nui Hina. I'm at my private residence alone at the moment, but my children will be home after school. There are currently no testifiers at the Molokai District Office. Mahalo, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Gabe Johnson.
Aloha, Chair, council members, community members. There's no testifiers at the Lanai District Office. I'm here and ready to work. Mahalo.
Great. Councilmember Tasha Kama is excused. Councilmember Yuki Lei Sugimura.
Good afternoon, and looking forward to a productive meeting.
Okay, and then we have non-voting member, Councilmember Tamara Paulton.
Kia ora.
Okay. You should go visit another country so we can get another greeting. Okay. Okay. Okay, please see the last page of the agenda for information on meeting connectivity. Thank you, members, for attending today's Raptor Committee meeting. We have 6 items on the agenda, and I know all of you are so excited to be here. And the first item is number 12, Raptor 12, Bill 147, 2025, to simplify the process for adopting real property tax rates and tiers. And this is more of a housekeeping measure, and I'll call on our legislative. Wait, am I supposed to introduce all of you? I don't do this at the council meeting, so you have to remind me. Huh? Oh, okay. I should have thought about that. Okay. Our legislative attorney is Peter Hanana. Peter, please give the members an explanation about Bill 147.
Chair.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Mahalo, Chair. Are we not taking testimony at the beginning of the meeting, only after each item? Is that the plan?
Well, I was going to go through, just mention all of the items first, and I thought I would give an explanation of 147, but yes, we can take testimony first. At the beginning of the meeting, do we have anyone
Chair,
signed?
I
Yes?
wasn't asking you to. I was just asking. I wasn't asking. That wasn't my preference. I was just asking.
Well,
how the meeting
we
was
do
gonna be.
have 2 people here to testify, so we do have people here. The regulars. And then, let's see, where's that? Testifiers wanting to provide testimony should sign up with staff, join the online meeting via Teams link, or call in to the phone number noted on today's agenda. Written testimony is encouraged and can be submitted via e-comment link at us/agendas as well. Under the Sunshine Law, the chair will receive oral testimony for agenda items at the beginning of the meeting and as the item is called up. For individuals wishing to testify via Teams, please raise your hand by clicking on the Raise Your Hand button. If calling in, please follow the prompts via phone, *5 to raise and lower your hand, and *6 to mute and unmute. Staff will add names to the testifier list in order testifiers sign up and raise their hands. For those on Teams, staff will lower your hand once your name is added. Staff will then call the name you're logged in under the last 4 digits of your phone number when it is your time to testify. At that time, staff will also enable your microphone and video. Please ensure your name appears in Microsoft Teams as the name you prefer to be referred to as or as anonymous. If you wish to testify anonymously, if you're in person, please notify staff that you would like to testify anonymously. Otherwise, please state your name for the record at the beginning of the testimony. Oral testimony is limited to 3 minutes per item. If you are still testifying beyond that time, I will kindly ask you to complete your testimony. Once you're done testifying, or if you do not wish to testify, you can also view the meeting on Akaku Channel 53, Facebook Live, or mauicounty.us/agendas. We will do our best to take each person up in an orderly fashion. We'll now call on testifiers wishing to testify at the beginning of the meeting. Staff, please call the first testifier.
Chair, the first person signed up to testify is Brandon Harris on Teams, to be followed by Rochelle Thompson.
Brandon Harris.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes. You can
Hear
start.
me? Okay. Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. Thank you for allowing this opportunity for public comment and for taking up this topic. For the record, I am Brandon Harris, a full-time resident of Maui County. I support Bill 142 because Maui residents trying to purchase Maui properties in a tax class that is not owner-occupied are negatively impacted when they must pay the seller's property tax rate for up to a year. That tax burden can be significant. The chances of finding another property that is currently classified as owner-occupied is low, given the high number of homes classified as either non-owner occupied, TVR-STRH, or long-term rental. As an example, here are the 3 tax bills for 3 homes in the same development with the same floor plan and similar market value as listed on the Maui County property tax site. Property 1 is currently classified as owner-occupied with a home exemption. A Maui resident would be responsible for some portion of the $3,500 per year tax bill. Property 2, remember, same property type, same floor plan, same market value, currently classified as a non-owner occupied tax class. The Maui resident would be responsible for some portion of a $17,100 per year tax bill. Property 3, currently classified as a TVR-STRH, that same Maui resident would be responsible for some portion of a $29,000 per year tax bill. This tax burden can be significant for affordability, and it can hinder qualification for mortgage loans. At least one local credit union said they could only consider the current tax bill amount shown on the county website when calculating debt-to-income ratios. That current tax bill is clearly not the taxes an owner-occupied homeowner would eventually be paying. That is not what those mortgage companies can consider. Please end this practice so Maui residents with a current homestead exemption in the owner-occupied tax class can take their exemption with them and be granted the lower tax rate immediately upon closing on the new home. I also have a recommendation that language be added to this bill to apply to any properties closing during the current tax year, even if this bill isn't passed until April, May, or June. That way, Maui residents that are currently in this situation can receive refunds or credits for the higher taxes already paid. Thank you for your time.
Members, do you have any questions? Member Paulton?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Harris. I just wanted to clarify, I introduced this, and there is an amendment summary form attached. That will be when it gets discussed, but I'm not a voting member of the committee, so if you want action today, you gotta appeal to the voting members.
Thank you. I summarily make that appeal.
Any more
Thank you,
questions?
Chair.
Any more questions? If not, next testifier.
Chair, the next person signed up to testify is Rochelle Thompson, to be followed by Evan Dust.
Is it working now? Yes. Thank you, Chair and committee members, Raptor committee members. My name is Rochelle Thompson. I'm here testifying on my own time. And I'd like to speak briefly about the proposed Bill 143, and this relates to property tax issues affecting vacant land located in the residential and rural zoning districts. To back up a bit, as you're all aware, under Section 348.305A, property is classified and then taxed based on its highest and best use. Currently, there are 12 tax classifications. When you get to subsection B, it instructs that zoning plays a major part in determining highest and best use. This factor is very important, obviously. Makes sense that a piece of, for example, a piece of vacant land in the hotel and resort zone is classified for property tax purposes as hotel and resort. However, when you have vacant land in the residential or rural zones, the default is non-owner occupied. And the way I kind of have always thought about this tax classification, it's like a big closet where you kind of shove everything that doesn't fit into the back of it. And, you know, but I believe that there are some unintended consequences in doing that. The reason that I believe non-owner occupied doesn't make sense for vacant land is based on the current definition of non-owner occupied, which states that the property is improved with a dwelling. Vacant land obviously is not improved with a dwelling. I own a parcel of vacant land in Makawao. I'm currently paying more than $4,200 a year in taxes. There's no dwelling, as I said, no power, no water, no sewer. The remedy, though, I think, is that this section of the code needs to be addressed. Either remove the phrase improved with a dwelling from the definition of owner occupied, and that would indicate that council clearly intends to classify vacant residential and rural property along with second homes under non-owner occupied. The other potential option which is addressed in Bill 143 is to create a new tax classification that would address vacant land in the residential and rural zones. Another option may be to, for tax purposes, classify land zoned rural in with ag, since there, ag use is allowed on rural zone property. At any rate, either of these options would allow council to determine the tax rate that should be applied to vacant land in either the residential or rural zone. Thank you for your time.
Members have a question. Member Sugimura.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to see you here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So you're basically saying you're okay with the bill?
Yes,
Okay. And you're giving some other suggestions?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
What is your first suggestion?
I think my first suggestion would be to, that I think Bill 143 is a good step. The only thing that you may want to consider is whether you want to group residential and rural together, or if you wanted to treat rural the same as ag, which would just be modifying, making another modification to that section 348.305.
Okay. Any more questions, members? I don't see any. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next testifier.
Chair, the last person we have signed up to testify at the beginning of the meeting is Evan Dust.
Good afternoon, Chair Lee and members of the Maui County Real Property Tax Reform Special Committee. For the record, my name is Evan Dust. I am providing testimony regarding the proposed Bill 143, 2025 as a private resident of Maui County. Councilmember Kama is aware that I'm giving testimony on this matter, but I have not collaborated with her in any way on this testimony. The opinions expressed in my testimony are solely mine and do not represent the position of the Cost of Government Commission, for which I serve as chair, nor do they represent any position on this matter that Councilmember Kama may choose to take. On its face, Bill 143, 2025 appears innocuous. You're just giving real property tax assessors another category with which they can classify lands with residential or rural zoning. The key issue is, what is the county's intent in doing so? If the intent is to permit the administration and council to better manage zone land for the benefit of property owners in the community, I would have no issue with this new classification. I'm afraid that there is a more nefarious intent. If the goal is to apply economic pressure to force landowners to improve their property or alternatively conduct some agricultural activity, I would consider that an unnecessary intrusion into the landowner's property rights. I didn't know that it was a crime not to utilize every piece of property zoned residential or rural for development or agriculture. If it's such a crime, then why is this council seeking to force property owners on the Minatoya list to step back from the highest and best economic use of their property? If it is a crime to not to fully utilize the assets a person controls, why not increase the cost of registration on any vehicle not being actively used? We all know that it is best we maximize the number of vehicles on the road, right? We must love it when our roads are jammed with people driving with nowhere to go just to avoid the higher registration fee. Let's go further. That elderly couple has an extra bedroom now that their children have moved elsewhere. They're not making the highest and best use of that bedroom. Legislate them into taking in a boarder. Better yet, require them to house someone who is currently unsheltered. Treating private property as a public asset and then coercing private owners to toe the government line is a distinctive characteristic of a non-democratic, totalitarian government. This level of intrusion can only come from a government that has forgotten that it serves the people. It now only seeks to make the people servants to it. Remember, you are elected by the people. Trampling on the property rights of the people should result in your removal from office at the next election.
Okay, any questions, members? I see no questions. Thank you.
Chair, we currently have no other individuals signed up to testify at the beginning of the meeting. We'll do a last call. I do see an individual approaching the podium.
All right. He got it fired up there. I'm getting up to the pulpit. Jassy Law from Kulaoka, Waiakoa, Ahupua'a. I've been here for, next week it'll be 12 years. I think it takes one full cycle to start to learn what's going on. Good afternoon, Chair Lee. I think you can put this under several categories here. I don't know if it's simplifying the process for real property tax or, okay, churches are not residential, so that would cancel that vacant part out of there, so. Or Bill 145. I was got a little bit nervous about talking about 145 because that's my my friends and neighbors up there. So I'll just stick to the general, the process, to simplify the process. I don't know how long the, I call it churches, but it's, Councilmember Sugimura, if you have any objections, then it would save time if you saved until the end. Thank you. I don't know when the last time you guys looked at this process, but there is a fee or some kind of a standard fee, or maybe an application fee for churches. So I suggest you guys look at that. Maybe you can squeeze a couple of dollars out of them. Okay, I found a good Hawaiian word here. I was just on a lunch break up there in Kula. I usually talk about two churches because I can't really get around to all of them, but there's a couple of similar factors with all the churches. But since we're talking about land use and highest and best use, they should probably try to use it as much as they can to help the community. So the Hawaiian word is Lono Puha, and the macron goes over the U and the A of Puha, and that means God of healing. And that's what I think we need up here in Kula. So that kind of gives me an idea of maybe I should just start my own church, and then I can compare with them guys. So in my personal testimony, the day after I was grumbling about the churches last week, on Friday, the Holy Ghost Church didn't even open the gate at all for the whole day. And that's a federal and state historical property there, so I'm kind of wondering how they get away with that. And the other church, the King's Cathedral Kula Church up there, was putting some sandwich board signs out there on the main highway, and I found out that's illegal too. So along with using our landfills and our water supply and stuff, they're doing some nefarious things over there. Thank you for your time, and thank you for tackling this subject, Chair Lee.
Any questions? If not, thank you very much. Next testifier.
Chair, the next person signed up to testify is the individual logged in under the name the Royal House of Hawaii. The Royal House of Hawaii is your time to testify.
Sorry, is it going? Sorry, is it going? You can hear. Okay, aloha. Oh, you can hear?
Yes.
Okay. Aloha, I'm an Alorio land tenant and royal heir under Hewa Hewa Nui and Helu 3237, which is Land Commission Award. I'm wondering, like, so this is for real property taxes. So can I ask, how is it possible for the real properties royal patent, AKA royal patent, are being deleted, erased from the tax map key parcel paperwork? And yeah, can I ask why? Because there's already real properties filed, adjudicated from the 1800s, and it's being illegally used, and because many of the lands were condemned, they just condemned the land without no discussion with any of the heirs in all the lands. And these royal patents, AKA real properties, royal patent, have to be recognized, because if it's getting erased, that's a crime on an international level, because it has to deal with the Kingdom of Hawaii, and the Kingdom of Hawaii still exists. And each family has their family's burials on each of the lands. You can go back to the Mahele book from Kauikeaouli, the very original lands that was given to all people, and you will find the descendants doing a title search. And if there was any discussion with them on any plans at all. And because I'm an heir and a descendant, and I haven't even got contacted even. So I was just wondering if any others got contacted though. But please return the real properties and royal patents to the royal patent descendants, because it already has been adjudicated and everything since 1840s. Mahalo.
Thank you. Members, any questions? If not, thank you very much.
Chair,
Yes.
proceeding with last call for our testifiers at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay.
If there's anyone else who'd like to testify at the beginning of the meeting, please identify yourself now. On Teams, you can do that by using the raise hand function. We'll do a brief countdown. 3, 2, 1. Chair, there is no one else to testify.
Thank you. Any objections to closing public testimony at the beginning of the meeting and accepting written testimony?
No objections.
Okay, thank you. I feel compelled to introduce our staff. To my right, we have our special analysts, James Kruger and Kirsten Zabo. And to my left, we have Legislative Attorney Peter Hanano, Corp Counsel Christy, what's your last name again? Toshikyo. And to my right again, and then to my left, we have our Committee Secretary, Maria Leon. And then from the Department of Finance, we have the Director, Marcy Martin. And from Real Property Tax Division, the Administrator is Carrie Stockwell. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Now, staff, go ahead.
Chair, so the first item before the committee is RPTR 12. That's for Bill 147 to simplify the process for adopting real property tax rates and tiers.
Do we have anybody here to testify?
Chair, we currently don't have any individuals signed up to testify at this time, but the committee could do opening remarks before it closes testimony.
Chair, I see Mr. Crowley's hand up.
Oh,
Okay. Mr. Crowley, feel free to start your testimony. Welcome.
Hello, Chair.
Hi.
I'm Tom Crowley. I've been asked to be a resource to this committee. I have comments to share on each of the proposed bills agendized today. But first, I'd like to say I'm disappointed that the 4 issues I raised in prior testimony have not been considered or addressed by any of the proposed bills under consideration today. In my opinion, there are some systemic problems in how real property taxes are assessed, how appeals are handled, and some basic fairness issues currently in the tax code. Some of today's bills aim to address the process and procedures and to assist the council and department at administrating the code. Others are strictly policy issues that the council has the sole authority to accept or reject as it sees fit. The first bill that we're talking about today, Bill 147, is intended to give the council more flexibility about the noticing requirements when setting rates. I certainly understand this issue at hand because my property taxes were directly impacted by it in 2024 when the council was ready to lower the rate that would apply to me, but the noticing that had taken place earlier didn't allow them to go to that rate. And then they would have to do renoticing and so forth. So from that perspective, I'm very supportive of this measure. But before you approve this change, I'd like for you to consider why the noticing requirements exist and whether there may be a better way to address tax rate noticing and the required public hearings to the rates. I have participated in the tax rate public hearings for more than 15 years. Sometimes I'm the only one who shows up. And I've come to realize that at the time of the second hearing, we know the rates are already set. So you hear from folks who have comments on them, but then you don't act, it doesn't look like you act on them. And that kind of just pisses off the public. They think, well, why am I doing this? Why am I talking to these guys? So I would like for you to think about that whole process. And I would like for the council to first hear comments from people before you start deliberations on the budget, and then hear a second time from the people before you have made the decision, as you almost always do at 11 o'clock at night, as to what the rates are going to be. So that all that, all the comments can be considered in your deliberations when you get to that matter. And then maybe this noticing thing would not be so much of an issue. But the way that it's structured right now, and I know, the decision is already made by the time you have the second hearing. And even if you hear something compelling, it's very difficult to change the rates. Now, what's being considered here might make that a little bit easier. And therefore, again, I am supportive of this bill. But I would like you to think about that whole package as to how do we notice people, how do they get their thoughts to us about what the tax rate should be, and how can we respond to those thoughts without, having to jump through these noticing issues. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And Tom, we'll go over everything one item at a time. Member Paulton, do you have questions?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I had a clarifying question for Mr. Crowley. When you were saying, like, at the beginning, have people testify on the rates, I feel like can't they do that at any time during the public testimony? From when we get the proposed budget from the mayor, it has his proposed rates on it. So at any time leading up to this point, they can do that testimony that you were referring to in your testimony, because the proposed rates are what is the starting point. And if they don't like those proposed rates, or they don't like the range of rates, at any time they can testify, and that's when it matters up until we set them, like you said.
Range of rates, and we say, we're going to have a public hearing about the range of rates, and it's on this evening. It's usually a 6 p.m. meeting and so forth. And people have the opportunity at that time to say, hey, this is what this rate should be or that rate should be. But again, I would like you guys to have the second one of those public hearing meetings before you have truly deliberated and come up with your solution. That's basically the change that I'm asking for. Because once you come up with the rates that you've decided, you've balanced everything, and then we have the public hearing where you're going to actually set the rates, it's already a done deal. It's
So
very difficult to change it at that point.
Twice in committee, have the public hearing twice in committee before it goes to full council first and second reading?
Well, you already kind of do have twice. The public hearing is held as a split thing. You have the first public hearing, and then you recess it, and then you have the second public hearing where you actually adopt the rates, okay? And that second public hearing is where I think people get kind of frustrated with the whole situation. And you guys have been kind of handcuffed sometimes by the time you get to that, because you may want to make some change, and that's what this is hoping to address.
So you're talking about adding one in between those two, adding one meeting in between those.
Right, kind of.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah.
Chair.
Yeah.
Any more
Thank you.
questions? And Tom, I should have introduced you earlier. Yes, you are part of our group, and you are a resource person. And if there are no more clarifying questions, we'll start the discussion now on the first item, which is Bill 147. Do we have any testifiers?
Chair, we did need some clarification. The Royal House of Hawaii signed up to testify, but our understanding was the testimony they provided at the beginning of the meeting was for the item that's before the committee now, Bill 147. So I think we just need to clarify if the Royal House is that their initial testimony was for a different item, or if not, then they've already testified on this item.
Is he still on the line?
Yes, the individual logged in under the name the Royal House of Hawaii is still on, but they did lower their hand, so perhaps.
Oh, sorry. I thought this was the next item. I'm sorry.
Okay, Thank you. So the Royal House of Hawaii has testified on this item, so we'll put them down for the next item, just for testimony when the committee takes up the next
Check
item.
if there's anybody else signed up.
If there's anyone else who'd like to testify on RPTR 12, please identify yourself now. On Teams, you can do that by using the raise hand function. We'll do a brief countdown. 3, 2, 1. Chair, there is no one else to testify on this item.
Okay, any objections to closing public testimony on item Bill 147 and accepting written testimony? Okay, so ordered. Now, on the first item, which is Bill 147, we did look up, the history behind this, and it doesn't seem to be like a statute or anything, or a charter provision requiring the process that we go through under 3.48.565. And our legislative attorney, Peter Hanano, will explain why we are making this change or proposing this change.
Thank you, Chair. So the purpose of this bill is to simplify the procedure for adopting real property tax rates and tiers during the annual budget session. Currently, the law requires that Council, 1, provide 10 days notice prior to setting the range of rates and tiers for real property taxes. After the 10-day notice, the Council must reconvene within 3 weeks to adopt a resolution setting the rates and tiers. If Council cannot meet and adopt the rates and tiers within the 3 weeks, then the process must be restarted. This proposed bill seeks to eliminate the 3-week requirement and allows Council to simply adopt a resolution setting the rates and tiers. Additionally, this bill amends all references to June 20 to make it consistent with the requirements of the charter that the Council approve the annual budget by June 10th. Finally, if the Council fails to adopt the rates and tiers by June 10th, the Mayor's proposed rates and tiers will take effect. Thank you, Chair.
Does everybody understand that? It's just a very inconvenient way of working. Director of Finance, do you have any comments about that?
We are in favor of making the process easier administratively.
Anybody else? Member Sugimura.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. During this budget process, as we ran into challenges like Maui News doesn't publish every day and, different things, we made some adjustments, but just getting to this point, thanks for codifying it so that as we go through the budget process, we don't have to go through what we just did this last process. So thanks.
And my comment to Tom Crowley is that if you watched us every day, and you probably do, but during the budget process, things change, where we set off on one course and thinking this is what the rate is going to be, and then we get some kind of amendment proposal from the mayor, or, when the revenues are certified, if we are in a deficit position, then we have to make changes again. So it's a fluid thing, and, it's based on how much revenue we need to cover the expenses that we are going to approve. So it's not by any stretch an exact science. It just changes. Member Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. My copy is not signed off by Corporation Counsel. Maybe they could address that.
Ms. Toshikio.
Yes, thank you, Chair. After the original bill was posted, I've been working with Office of Counsel Services, just because I did have the concern, the original bill has the June 20th date, which is after the charter deadline of June 10th. So my recommendation was to make that change. Now that the change has been made, I'm comfortable signing the bill.
So with the amendment
Yes.
to June 10th, you'll be
Yes.
comfortable signing? Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
It was very strange, and we have a June 10th deadline for the mayor's budget to take effect, and we have a June 20th deadline to approve the tax rates. All right, members, any further discussion? Member Paulton.
maybe a question for Ms. Toshikio. I'm on Bill 147, the original version, no, letter B under 3.48.565. Are you with me? Okay.
Yes.
To meet what was requested by the resource, would it be saying should provide public notice and meet at least twice before adopting a resolution fixing the tax rates and tiers? Would that address the resource's concerns?
Ms. Toshikio?
Thank you, Chair. I'm thinking, because even with the meeting twice, then you'll still have notice requirements under the Sunshine Law. So then it would extend the time. And I know that that's always been very difficult to be able to have that hearing before, or at least in conjunction with when you're finalizing the
To
budget.
do it before June 10th?
Yes,
So it would be
yes.
difficult, depending on when you have the first meeting.
Right, and I guess my question would be, is the intent to have the meeting just to receive public testimony and public feedback on what is going on? And as you guys are perhaps, I don't know if you're discussing at that point, setting the rates and tiers in your regular BFED meetings. So is it just for public testimony, or is it to have like a deliberations on, potentially what, or narrowing down, or where you're gonna be pivoting on the tax
So
rates
it
and
would be
tiers?
not a public hearing because there's no deliberation during a public hearing, is what you're saying?
Correct. And right now, the requirement, under the change that happened this past, I guess, March, it's not a public hearing requirement anymore. It is a public meeting requirement, which is different. So we're following the requirements in the Sunshine Law. Previously, we were following the requirements under the HRS for public hearings, which required publication in the newspaper, which I know has also been very difficult in this process.
So we had previously changed it already from a public hearing to a public meeting, and then we can have deliberations during a public meeting because it's no longer a public hearing.
If that's, I think that would be allowable. It depends on how you agendize it. I think that this past budget season, you did just take public testimony.
Okay, so you could do it either way. It just depends on how you agendize it. Like there will be a discussion following, or just testimony will be taken.
Yes, and I'll take a look at your suggestion again, because I don't think this prohibits you from having another
More than
meeting.
one. Oh,
Yes.
okay. So you can do it either way. With it written would require you to do it. Without it written, you still could do it as long as you meet all your time frames. Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, are you ready to vote on this, or not?
Yeah.
Okay, could I have
Do a
a
motion.
motion? Member Sugimura?
Yeah, so I move to approve Bill 147, 2025 on first.
Second?
I'll second that, but
Thank
I
you.
also want to make a motion for the amendment.
Okay. It's been moved by Member Sugimura, seconded by Member Johnson, to recommend approval of Bill 147. Discussion, Member Sugimura.
Yeah, so I think we've discussed this. I totally support what this bill does, just to make the whole budget process smoother and clearer, probably, as we're kind of shuffling this around this last budget cycle. And I have no more to say, and then I guess Member Johnson wants to do the ASF.
Okay, Member Johnson?
Thank you, Chair. I move to replace each reference of June 20th to June 10th throughout the bill, and that's twice in Section 1 and twice in Section 2.
Second.
Moved by Member Johnson, seconded by Member Sugimura, to make the change as proposed in the ASF, as distributed. Discussion, Member Johnson.
I think Corporation Counsel explained it well, so no further discussion.
Okay. No further discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
I see 1, 2, 3, 4. 4? Is it 4? 4 ayes, 0 noes, one excused. Motion carries. Okay. Staff?
Chair, the body's on the main motion as amended now.
Main motion as amended, please raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
4 ayes, 1 excused, motion carries. The excused is Member Kama.
Yay.
Staff?
Chair, the next item before the body is RPTR 8 for Bill 143, 2025 to establish the vacant residential real property tax classification.
Okay, get my notes.
Public testimony.
Yeah, testimony.
Chair, proceeding with testimony on this item. The first and only person signed up to testify at this time is the individual logged in as the Royal House of Hawaii. Oh, to be followed by Michael Williams.
Royal House.
Aloha. Okay, so I'm testifying on this item, and I heard that you guys are changing the class of this RP, which this RP and many of the RPs that are approved with the state of Hawaii are all invalid, illegal, and frauded because this RP is not the royal patent, aka RP royal patent descendants and heirs, and the heirs have not been contacted, and the descendants of that specific land. Because if you guys know a royal patent, I don't know if you guys, I'm pretty sure you guys should know this. All the realtors, everybody knows what a royal patent is and what is an allodial title. And the royal patents are allodial titles, which are forever, no matter what. And those rules and laws with the real property royal patent cannot be superseded because the royal patents supersede all of the rules, and you guys have to follow those rules. So in that case, like there's 3 different lands in Hawaii: the government, the king, and the regular people that got royal patent. All of the lands are royal patented to a specific ohana. So please contact those ohanas and descendants because they are the ones who are supposed to be having this RP real property, but they manipulated it from royal patent to real property. So please, can you guys answer my questions if that's possible? Mahalo.
Members, do you have any questions? Okay, no questions? Next testifier.
Chair, the next person signed up to testify is Michael Williams, to be followed by Tom Crowley.
Okay. Mike?
Did that fix it? Do you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry. Aloha, good afternoon. I would urge you not to create a new property class for this problem and take Rochelle Thompson's second option, which is just to remove the 4 words improved with a dwelling out of the definition of non-owner occupied. You accomplish the same thing as this bill, but you don't have to create a 13th class of property.
Mike, could you repeat what you just said? Remove what words?
There's four, if you look at the definition of non-owner occupied in the long list of classifications, it says it needs to be land improved with a dwelling. And you can just remove the 4 words, improved with a dwelling, and you solve the same problem as this bill would solve without creating a new property class.
All right. Well, now we have questions. Were you done?
Yes.
Okay. Member Paulton has a question.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Williams. I'm not clear, like, what category. So if you remove with a dwelling, right now, if there's no dwelling, it goes into the non-owner occupied tax classification, is my understanding. So if it doesn't have a dwelling, which property tax classification are you thinking it would be under?
Well, unless I'm misunderstanding the language of the statute, right now, you cannot qualify as a non-owner occupied parcel unless you have a dwelling on the parcel. And what I'm proposing, which was the second proposal from Rochelle Thompson, is just to eliminate that requirement for non-owner occupied, and then vacant land that's, not owner occupied and not any of the other classifications will be classified non-owner occupied.
I think she had said she has vacant land without a dwelling and she's put into the non-owner occupied tax classification. And the non-owner occupied tax classification is a higher one for her. If it's vacant land in the residential or rural residential, it's classified as non-owner occupied. But she thinks that's not the correct classification because it's not occupied at all. It's vacant. You can't live in a house that's not there or visit a house that's not there, is my understanding of it. If it's vacant land, it goes into the non-owner occupied tax class, which she's saying is pretty high for vacant land, I guess.
Well, it depends on how valuable the vacant land is, of course.
So
I'm
just to
just trying to
clarify,
solve-
you're against this bill because you believe that's the correct place for vacant land to be in non-owner occupied tax classification?
Yes, because it's just simpler. It's simpler than creating a 13th property class.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Sure.
Any more questions? Member Sugimura.
I would like to hear what real property tax or finance has to say about this.
Questions
Oh,
for
I'm sorry.
member, for
person.
Mr. Williams? Questions for Mr.
Later.
Williams?
Not Mr. Williams.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Thank
Next
you.
testifier.
Chair, the last person signed up to testify on this item is Tom Crowley.
Aloha Committee, Tom Crowley again. Bill 143 would reestablish a tax classification that we eliminated back in 2010. Some of the old timers will remember we had an unimproved residential tax category that we did away with. There was only 199 properties in that tax classification when we did away with it. So just to be clear about that. As Mr. Dust said, I would be very interested to know what is the intent of this classification. Is it to set a higher rate? That's what the county was doing back when they got rid of the unimproved residential, to try to encourage people to build something on it. Or I'm not sure, or is it to set a lower rate to help someone like Ms. Thompson, who is saying, hey, I'm paying too much here. So that's a really key thing to understand if we're going to put properties in this classification. What is the intent of it? The issue that I think it could solve, if you do go forward with it, is the issue that I brought up, which is apartment classification. We have this apartment classification. We have set a very low rate of $3.50 per thousand, and that applies to residential apartments where residents live, and that's great. But it also applies to, and I want everyone to fully understand this, all of the vacant land that is zoned apartment that is intended for high-end development in Wailea, in Kapalua, in these places where they have apartment zoned properties that they intend to sell to off-island owners. Is that where you want to have one of your lowest tax rates? That's a policy question for you, but I don't think you do. And I think that if you do establish this new category, that you would want to add apartment to it. Now, as a clarification to some other testimony you heard, rural zoning currently is put into the ag classification if there is no dwelling on it. So I live in Maui Meadows. Maui Meadows is rural zoning. For the few properties that do not have anything on them, I just looked it up, they are classified as agriculture. Now, of course, they don't get an ag use dedication unless they file for that. But they get taxed in the ag classification. But I would maintain that all these potentially residential lands that are vacant should be taxed in one tax category called vacant. And again, what rate you want to set to that should be, based on vacant land, whereas the non-owner occupied, we know that you tend to just want to set a rate that's punitive to try to discourage people from buying homes and sitting on them, using them as second homes and so forth. So I fully understand Ms. Thompson's concern. You're setting a punitive rate that she's subject to. And I also understand the concern of Mr. Dust that we shouldn't be telling people what they have to do. But the intent really needs to be revealed about this one. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, are there any more questions, members? Member Paulton?
Thank you, Mr. Coley. I had two questions. The first question, I guess, and then I'll get to the intent question second, but would it be like what you're saying, just switching out apartment zone for rural zoned? Would that work? So it applies to residential and apartment zoning instead of residential and rural zoning? Because I agree that unimproved rural land should go under ag. So just swapping out rural for apartment, would that achieve what you're trying to say?
Yes, that would achieve what, the inconsistency that I think there is in apartment zoned property that's not been developed. But again, the question, the policy question is, what do you intend the rate to be? Do you intend it to be higher than non-owner occupied or lower than non-owner occupied? I don't know. So.
I don't either. So that goes into my second question on intent. Does it matter what we intend? Because we're just temporary, and what if the next council intends something different than us? So, I mean, unless we write it into the thing, I guess that unimproved land should be taxed less than non-owner occupied or something like that. But the intention in the moment is just the 4 of them that are here, and then the 9 of them that are here for a full council. And then next year, the intention may 180 in the opposite direction. So, I mean, a lot of times the intent of the original legislation isn't followed decades down the road. Is it important to you what our intent is? Our specific
it's important to me. Well, it's important to me to have consistency in the rates that set a policy that the council intends. Okay, and if you're going to say, hey, we want apartment zoned land to be cheap, go ahead. I don't think that meets what you guys generally are trying to do. So I do think that you can put your legislative intent in the verbiage of this bill. But as you say, every council gets to set the rates however they want. Maybe someday you'll have 9 short-term rental owners on the council. Well, you wouldn't have short-term rental owners because they wouldn't live here, but they would flip the rates on their ear. But who knows? Okay.
Thank you. I think you answered my question.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Questions for Mr. Crowley? If not, thank you very much. James?
Chair, so the person logged in as the Royal House of Hawaii has their hand raised again, but they did provide testimony on this item. So we just wanted to verify whether they're signing up for the next item or if another person has joined them that also wants to testify on this item. The Royal House of Hawaii, we just need some clarification as to whether there's another person with you who also wants to testify on this item. One person under that account has already testified on this item.
Oh, for the next item.
Thank you. Then, Chair, there's no one else signed up to testify on this item, so we'll do a last call. If there is anyone else who'd like to testify on RPTR 8, please identify yourself now. On Teams, you can do that by using the raise hand function. We'll do a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Chair, there is no one else to testify.
Members, any objections to closing public testimony on this item and accepting written
No
testimony?
objections.
All right. This, let's have a motion on the floor so we can have discussion. Member Sugimura?
I move to approve Bill 143, 2025, first reading.
Okay, second, anybody?
Sure, I'll second.
First reading.
All right, moved by Member Sugimura, seconded by Member Johnson to recommend approval of Bill 143. Now, discussion, you wanted to hear from the finance? Okay. Member, I'm not member, but who would like to take, Carrie or Ms. Stockwell? Okay.
Thanks, Chair. So if you look at the classification of real property 3.48.305, so how it's written is except as otherwise provided in subsection B. So in subsection B, that's when it goes into that non-owner occupied real property improved with a dwelling. So that's the exception to that subsection A. Thank you.
And then did you want to add something, Ms. Martin?
Yes, so that's very important language to provide uniformity for all properties that are improved with a dwelling to go into that non-owner occupied class. So when that was created, the non-owner occupied class, you either had the owner occupied classification, right? And then non-owner occupied was anything that wasn't, owner occupied regardless of the zoning. I do have concerns about just calling residential and rural zoning districts as vacant land has many different zonings. We have over here in Kealani, it's
Okay,
project districts, so-
let's try and look at this from a problem-solving perspective. Like, if it's possible, like for instance, I know you can probably cite many examples of where this doesn't belong. But let's say we're talking about a rural lot that has no improvements, no infrastructure, no nothing, nobody living there. Would you, what about the idea of bringing back the old classification that was available to folks before, where you have no improvements on the land? And were you there in 2010? I mean, none of us were, but.
No, I was.
Oh, you were.
I was there in 1995. So, but no, the unimproved residential class was not a vacant land class. That was for large tracts of urban zone land that they had to be 1 acre or more. So it wouldn't include like a rural or residential zoned lot. That's why the number of properties in that was so small. That was for.
Did you
properties
pick
that-
non-owner occupied to use as the rate for Ms. Thompson's situation, vacant land? Did you pick it because it had the lowest rate other than apartment? I mean, apartment up in Makawao is not, appropriate. But, apartment is 375, and I think non-owner occupied is like 575. Right? Did you pick that non-owner occupied rate because it was a lower rate? What was the rationale for using the non-owner occupied? On vacant land, nobody's occupying it, right? But there's nothing to occupy.
Well, it's the urban classification, state urban classification, and the residential zoning. So it's the highest and best use of that property is to be developed as a single-family home. And that's how appraisals are based upon a highest and best use. That's why it's going into that classification.
Right. Yeah. If it had water, if it had sewer, if it had all the other infrastructure. So if it doesn't have any infrastructure, how can you charge the highest and best use? And without water, it's impossible, yeah? So how would you, I mean, we want to be fair to everybody.
Yeah, I think we're kind of commingling ideas. So those are valuation considerations. So if something didn't have water and it couldn't be developed, we would adjust it for no water. We would give it a time adjustment. But ultimately, it's what is the motivation of the buyers and what is the county's intent with the zoning. And so even if it doesn't have water today, I would think a prospective purchaser would hope that someday they could cure that and develop it as residential. So that's
Okay,
what
you know,
makes
the county
highest and
doesn't
best
take
use.
into consideration that it would charge the non-owner occupied highest and best use when there is infrastructure there. Because now it's impossible. It's impossible for a person to build there without infrastructure. I'm just trying to see if there's another way that's fair.
If it were impossible for someone to build without infrastructure, the value would be very low because the market wouldn't pay for the property. So chances are they would, you know, if it's overvalued, then the property owner could come to the Real Property Assessment Division, talk about their problems with the division. We could reassess it or look at it, or they could appeal. So if it couldn't be developed, there's a chance that the taxes were very low because the value would be very low.
Any other questions, members? Oh, Member Cook, thank you for joining us. Did you have any questions?
No, Chair. Thank you for letting me join you.
Of course. Anybody else? Member Johnson.
I'm sorry. I see some hands up that might have been missed. I can wait for them.
Chair.
Oh, Member Rollins Fernandez.
Hello, Chair. And I know Member Paulton had her hand up before me, but she's not a voting member, so I'm going to take my voting member privilege and ask questions first. So, Chair, did you not meet with the Finance Department before posting this bill?
We met.
Okay, so in your meeting with them, did you not have this discussion
We did, and
that
I
we're
did.
having right now?
We did, and I didn't agree with the director. So we're having it in front of everybody else now.
Okay, I see. Because I'm working on a couple bills too, but I'm working with them, so it's taking a little bit because I want to get everything ironed out before, bringing it to the committee so that I address all the things because they are the ones that do the work. So it's important that we take into consideration the consequences that they foresee. That because we don't do this work, don't know that could happen.
Yes, ideally,
right now,
ideally we would
right
do
now
that.
I'm not supportive of this, just because I'm concerned about like the consequences that it could happen.
Okay. What I was going to say is ideally, a one-on-one conversation would suffice, but it didn't. I wasn't satisfied with the answer, so I'm taking it to the committee where we have 6 brilliant people to see if others have ideas or suggestions, because I'm always looking for answers. I'm not one of those people that say, can't do it. So is there a solution that's fair? That's all I'm saying. I mean, this is not, Ms. Thompson is not the only person. I mean, there are tons of local people who own lots because their grandma gave them the lot and they can't do anything with it now. Maybe 20 years from now they can do something with it because they don't have the means, nor is there any infrastructure. So why would we tax them at the highest and best use when that's not really correct? You know, it's not appropriate because they can't build a house anyway if they wanted to, you know? So that's why I brought it up. But if nobody has any suggestion, Member Johnson.
I'm not done yet. I do appreciate you bringing this to the committee, and I can, try to think about it to some creative ideas to address the concern as you shared. But right now, I'm supportive of all the bills except for the 2 vacant bills.
Except for the what?
Your 2 vacant
okay.
land bills.
Okay,
So this one and the other vacant land bill. But the other ones I support.
thank you. Member Johnson?
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate Councilmember Rollins Fernandez's work on this kind of thing, and I would like to maybe wait and see what comes out of this. But I did have some questions for the department since you're here. One of the things that came up was apartment districts in the high-end areas, Kapalua, Wailea. Do you guys have a number of parcels that are apartment districts in Wailea or Kapalua, the high-end? Is it just a few? Is it several? Ballpark figure? I don't mean to put you on the spot.
The apartment class mostly has apartment buildings that people live in and they rent. But vacant land zoned apartment is also in that class. So we would get that number for you if you provide it in writing. And we
Sure.
can get you the number and the value.
Okay, thank you for that. And if staff would write that up, thank you. I saw a nod.
Yeah.
If Chair would allow it. If I don't mind, if you allow me to just take a step back, one of my concerns is land banking on all levels, right? Folks just finding the lowest property tax rate and just no intention of farming, but we know ag rates are the lowest. No intention of building anything, but they know that that's the lowest. So that's really my concern. So I'm just taking like a step back from this and saying, that's really where my concerns are, and maybe we can come up with the department on something that could address that. There are people who are struggling, like we just had the testifier, Ms. Thompson. That should be considered as well, but really I have a big concern about how land banking goes, and I wonder if the department has anything they could add.
Ms. Martin or Ms. Stockwell?
Well, I will say that I think that is our concern is the limits of this class where it's just residential or rural zoning, because you have vacant land that is zoned ag, you have vacant land that's zoned conservation, you have, vacant land that's project districts. So there's a variety of zoning. So it's best to group all like properties together, because the scenario that Alice had mentioned was, that Chair Lee had mentioned was, okay, I don't have water, I can't build. Well, there's people who have a half-acre ag-zoned lot, or who are in the same situation as the person with the residential lot or the rural lot. So it just, I think classifications should be, have all like properties in them.
Can you say that last statement again? All properties.
All like properties.
Ideally, 2 properties next to each other that are the same, right? You have a rural half-acre and you have an ag half-acre. Ideally, they would be in the same classification, but maybe under this bill, one would be in the vacant land class and the other one would be in the ag class. So that was my concern, that,
Okay.
yeah.
Chair, I personally would like to maybe wait until we get another bill up, because I too have another bill cooking with, the department.
Similar?
Not on this topic, on the other one about how the tax rates should change once you purchase a house, right? So, or a unit, I should say, because we're looking at Bill 9 and all these units are being taxed as short-term rental. We'll get to there when we get to there. I don't want to jump the gun, but, if we're working on bills with the department, why don't we, hear what we're working on as well as what this group is working on, and we can
Sure,
kind of
sure.
put it all together.
Sure. Would you like to withdraw your motion and your second? Okay.
I
that's-
withdraw my second.
Okay. So without objections, we can defer this until a later time. Any objections? All right, shall we call up the next item and then testimony? Oh, I'm sorry. Can you folks help me look for, I'm looking over there and somebody's raising up their hand, okay? Member Rollins Fernandez.
No, I didn't have I had no objection, sorry. But then I saw Member Paulton's hand was still raised. Before we move on to the next one, maybe we want to hear what Member Paulton wanted to say.
Member Paulton.
I guess my question was for Ms. Stockwell when she referred to item 2 that said real property improved with a dwelling that would not be classified as owner-occupied hotel, resort, timeshare, TVR, STRH, commercial, industrial, commercialized, residential, or long-term rental must be classified as non-owner occupied. I just wanted to clarify that that's not an exhaustive list because if there isn't a dwelling on it, it could still be in non-owner occupied. And I think that was the confusion from one of the testifiers, Mr. Williams. By reading that, it seems as though that's exhaustive, but if it was apartment zoned and the highest and best use would be non-owner occupied, it doesn't fall in there. But if it's residential and the highest and best use would be non-owner occupied, it does fall under there.
Ms. Stockwell.
So correct, it's not an exhaustive list, that portion 2, that's the exceptions to the everything in its highest and best use except for rural property so ag properties that have a dwelling on it, improved with a dwelling, would now then be moved to the non-owner occupied classification.
So why isn't apartment zone land put unimproved?
So apartment is that multi-dwelling unit improvements containing 5 or more dwellings that would not be classified as TVR, STRH, must be classified as apartment.
Oh, okay, thank you. So that might have been where the testifier had confusion because they might have thought that was an exhaustive list, but it's not an exhaustive list.
Correct, that's the exceptions to that.
Got it, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have a question or comment? If not, thank you. And James, next item.
Chair, the next item before the body is RPTR 11 for Bill 146, 2025 on principal home exemption application deadlines. The only individual we have signed up right now is the Royal House of Hawaii. It is your time to testify.
Aloha. With any of the real properties, I'm an allodial land tenant, royal patent tenant under Royal Patent, Real Property, Heva, and Land Commission Award 3237, Apana 2. And are any of the people that are filing any of these real properties because it's supposed to be royal patent, real property, are they descendants of those royal patents, real properties? Because I don't know what they are, I don't know if these are descendants of the royal patents made by Kauikeaouli. So, everybody that is filing for real property has to be a descendant, unless it was agreed upon with the entire kingdom, which it hasn't, and nobody was contacted. So, please contact the descendants of that land and royal patent if anyone is trying to file for real property, because the real property is again royal patents. Pala sila nui. And mahalo.
Members, any questions of the testifier? If not, thank you. Next testifier.
Chair, the last person signed up to testify is Tom Crowley.
Aloha Committee, Bill 146 concerns deadlines for home exemption. And while this bill attempts to address the biggest problem in our current tax code of tax classification being delayed by as much as 18 months compared to what the use is, and it may reduce that misclassification down to 6 months, I would like to see it be broader than what's proposed here. This is just for homeowner exemption. And I would like to see it apply also to long-term rental, so that in the middle of the year, if someone created a long-term rental, that they could get the tax classification changed at the next payment. That would be helpful. And also apply to kind of the other way. If somebody converts a property from owner occupied to non-owner occupied, then it should go up, right? They shouldn't continue to get the lower rate for the other year. Or let me give you another example. A bed and breakfast owner like myself who says, I want to get rid of my permit. I've now turned in my permit. Now I have to pay the higher rate and not get owner occupied for another 6 months or 18 months, as the case may be. So while I'm supportive of this bill in trying to address a big issue, I think the bill needs to be broader so that it addresses all of the issues that are on the table of misclassification and the delay in solving those misclassifications for up to 18 months. I want to make one small example. You just heard a good one from the earlier testifier, but I know someone, young couple, bought their first house over in Haiku, and they weren't able to close on it before the end of the year. And it wasn't their fault. It was the county's fault, because the county couldn't clear up some issue with the permitting of the water for that particular subdivision. So they ended up closing just a few days after the new year. So therefore, they had not filed a homeowner exemption before the end of the year, because they didn't own the home. So then for that whole first year, they had to pay it non-owner occupied. It was $6,500 against what it would have been, which was like $1,100. And as the earlier testifier said, that makes getting a mortgage difficult. You know, when the mortgage company says, we have to calculate in what your taxes are going to be, they don't give you a break on this, that I'm going to get a lower rate. So this is so vital to get this right and to have a way of establishing the correct tax classification mid-year or upon change of use or upon change of ownership instead of being delayed. So again, while I support this bill, in no way is this bill enough. You need to take this further. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Questions, Member Paulton?
Thank you. Just clarifying, it sounds like you liked my bill better than Chair Lee's bill, but it still didn't go far enough.
Yes, and I had questions about your bill. I didn't fully understand it, so when we get to that, you'll answer my question, I hope.
I also have an ASF too for my bill.
Okay.
Amendment.
Member Johnson?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, we have a lot of bills. I think we're going to have to Frankenstein them back and put them all together. But so the idea that you said it should happen, like the change should happen, the change of tax rate should happen around the time of purchase or something real similar to that. What do you how would you feel if it was like we put it in the time that it is recorded with the boards and conveyances? That's kind of what we're working on in my language in my bill.
Well, it's hard to split. I'm empathetic to the department. It's hard to split the tax bill, like how much somebody owes, within one payment. So going until the next payment comes up seems okay to me. I'm kind of okay with that, as long as they can make clear that this owner is going to pay in this tax classification beginning with their first tax payment that they make, you know. I think that's okay. But again, if the department says that they could administrate it like you have proposed, a mid-year or a mid-year change and count it back, then go ahead. We sell about 1,000 properties a year here in Maui, 1,000 in some years 1,500. So that's a lot of changes that the department would have to be chasing after if those change. And then again, I really want to support the people who are ready to change from their use from non-owner occupied to long-term rental. That's an important one to me, because you can get someone to consider doing that if their taxes are immediately going to go down. But if they're not going to go down for 18 months, you lose that incentive.
Right. So, the Bureau of Conveyances would be one route. I'll ask the department when we get to that, and, I appreciate your concern for them as well. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Member Rollins Fernandez.
Mahalo, Chair. Aloha, Mr. Curley. Mahalo for your testimony. It matters, so I appreciate your feedback on all the bills and your recommendations. So your suggestion in adjusting the real property tax assessment and valuation and bill, you've served on the RPT review board, so you know that county's practice is to receive appeals and then put 50% of the valuation or the assessment into a fund until it's resolved, and then either do a refund if it goes in their favor, or collect the other half. Or I might be saying that a little wrong, but
They collect all the money, but
okay,
yeah.
collect all the money.
They don't
put
spend
half
it.
aside.
Yeah.
But we put half aside in case we need to refund it.
Right.
Okay. So there's certainty in collecting it once a year for our budget purposes. So that's something you're aware of. And if it's going to be in flux throughout the year, then what is your suggestion in the county having a level of certainty in order to budget and know what it is that we'll be able to pay for?
To be honest, I don't think that it's enough that it would matter. The carriers over savings and so forth that you have, I don't think that you would have the finance director coming to you and saying, oh, wow, too many properties switched over to homeowner and we don't have enough money in the budget now to balance it. You guys do budget amendments all the time, and I don't think that this is going to turn into enough money that it would really be significant. Like, it might be $10 million, but $10 million on your $1 billion budget is not, is not going to really throw things off.
You think it's going to be like $10 million?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just guessing that that's the most it could be. Right. The most it could be if a whole bunch of people changed from long-term or from short-term rental to owner-occupied, like what Bill 9 is trying to do. If all of a sudden in the middle of the tax year you have 500 properties switch, yeah, it's going to be $10 million. Okay.
And that's not what Bill 9 does. It's set at 5 years right now. But we're not talking about Bill 9.
We're not talking about right now.
I'll ask the finance department their opinion on this as well. I just wanted to hear your feedback, so I appreciate it. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you for the question.
Any more questions? James?
Chair, there's no one else signed up to testify on this item, so we'll do a brief last call. If there is anyone who'd like to testify on this item, please identify yourself now. On Teams, you can do that by raising your hand. We'll do a brief countdown. 3, 2, 1. Chair, there's no one else to testify.
Thank you. Any objections to closing public testimony on this item and accepting written testimony? No objections to order. Okay, this one, I don't think we need a motion. I'd rather just do discussion on it because we have like 3 different versions to talk about. And if I may go first, I'd like to, my version combined the example that Tom Crowley talked about that young owner-occupant who missed the deadline by 1 month. Okay, I had that plus STR folks together in one bill. I'd like to separate them out and deal with them separately, because the STR matter is not ongoing like the affordable housing matter. And at some point, it's going to stop. So we should have legislation just focusing on that. So then I know that Member Johnson had a suggestion. Do you want to tell us now, or you want to wait till you have something more?
I'll keep it short if you like.
Okay.
You know, of course, I wanted to reach out to the department and see, am I making a bill that's administratable, right? So we talked about making it at the time of purchase, we change it, but then we decided maybe at the Bureau of Conveyances would be the proper time, and I'll let them speak on it. When they would suggest the proper time, it would change over. But then in the debate on balancing the books, right, that always comes up on this, that maybe we create a special fund, not $10 million. I think Director Marcy was saying about 2 would be, in the ballpark, but I'll let her speak on that. But have like a money that a fund that they can dip in to balance the books every year, depending on that year. Like a worst case scenario, they would come before a budget amendment, but just having a small pot of money to help carry, balance the budget as we move forward. And that's really the 2 big points I wanted to bring up.
Okay. So your version would ask the department, or we would set aside a
We
fund
would
to
create a
carry,
fund, yes.
to carry the folks who missed the deadline, many times through no fault of their own.
Right.
And
It would be called a new owner occupied supplement real property tax fund. So that just rolls off the tongue.
oh, you're talking about the same one as me. I thought you were talking about STRs. Because mine has to do with those, not STRs, but just the big category of everybody in who are deemed and approved and recognized as affordable housing, applicants.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm malleable,
Okay.
but I thought just to get the ball rolling, that's kind of where we were going. If the
Okay.
body decides they want to go.
Well, I know Member Paulton has another version. Okay, Member Paulton. Don't you have another version?
Yeah, mine was the STR one because if people buy STRs to live in, but are we calling up that bill? Should I talk on it now or?
Yeah, we are following the agenda. That's the bill we're on, principal home exemption. Yeah, actually, the next 2 are pretty much
My bill
related.
is Raptor 7, Bill 142. It proposes to adjust the exemption filing timeline so relief appears earlier. It also adds a pathway to the home exemption for longtime county residents who convert former transient units into homes. Currently, a claim filed by December 31st applies to the second half of the fiscal year tax payment. My bill adds a new half-year option, kind of based on how those other counties did when we seen it HSAC in the real property tax talk. This bill adds a new half-year option to file a claim by June 30th, and it applies to the first half of the fiscal year tax payment. This change is proposed to apply to both the home exemption in Section 3.48.450 in certain circumstances and the long-term rental exemption in Section 3.48.466. It also proposes to permit a taxpayer who meets the following criteria to qualify for the home exemption. If they've been a county resident for 10 consecutive years, purchases property classified as short-term rental or TVR STRH within the past 5 years, and occupies it as their principal residence during the claim year. This bill provides faster tax relief to qualified owners, gives the Department of Finance predictable deadlines, and creates a focused, documented route for longtime residents to convert former transient units into principal homes. There's also an amendment substitution to clarify that the adjustment of the filing deadlines for the home exemption only applies when Code Section 3.48.450C3 is triggered. It also corrects the order of second half payment and first half payment it replaces used for transient accommodations with classified as short-term rental home or TBR STRH for precision.
Okay, you mentioned that's Bill 142. Yeah, we were actually, what did you say, 144? Which one did you say? 142. Okay, we didn't, James, we didn't call testimony for that one.
That's right, Chair. We haven't called testimony yet for
Yeah,
Bill.
good.
Yeah, that's what I was clarifying.
Well,
You said just go ahead, so I just went ahead.
yeah, but what I was explaining at the beginning was mine combined the two, and we're going to separate the two, and the first one, we're only going to talk about exemptions for those just of regular affordable housing people. And then the second one, well, we still have to call up testimony, so let's do that, and then we can continue on the discussion on both STRs and the regular affordable owner occupants. James, do we have anybody signed up?
Chair, we currently don't have any individuals signed up to testify on our PTR 7 for.
Mr. Crowley raised his hand.
But we do have an individual raising their hand. That would be Tom Crowley.
Okay, but he's our resource person. Tom, you want to share anything?
Yeah, I appreciate Councilmember Paulton trying to explain the rationale behind her 348-450C3 addition. I think I understand it, but it really gets very complicated here. You're trying to say if someone is a resident of Maui now and owns a transient vacation rental that they then want to move into, they could make the change. But if they're not a resident here and they wanted to move into their place, then they wouldn't be able to do this. It just seems a little bit complicated to me. But I really appreciate you getting to the minutia of this, because you really are going to need the department to be on your side to say whether they can administrate whatever we come up with here. So yeah, it's going to be a Frankenstein, as Councilmember Johnson put forward, and there's a lot of good ideas that could come forward to make this work. And if this committee comes up with nothing else this thing, I think this is the most important issue to solve at this moment. And I would like to see it solved before the end of the year, so that next year people can be properly classified. But I also would like to have the real property tax appeal board be able to make judgment calls on these things, which right now they can't. Right now they're a paper tiger. They're told, well, the department decided this based on code, and it's not your job to interpret the code. So again, the appeal board is the one that should be able to look at all this and say, yes, these guys deserve their exemption and they deserve the different classification, or no, they don't. We side with the department on that. So that's another portion that I want to throw into this Frankenstein. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. What better time to work on Frankenstein during Halloween? Member Paulton?
I just wanted to clarify, it's also, if a resident purchases a short-term rental, as we're phasing out that usage. So say a resident purchases, not just if somebody who owns a short-term rental wants to move into it. If a resident purchases a short-term rental, or they want to convert their short-term rental to a long-term rental, it also applies to that.
Okay, but why 10 years? How'd you come up with that?
When people speak about purchasing home in Maui, that's the standard.
Excuse me, Member Rollins Fernandez is interrupting. What did you want?
I understand.
What was it? You had a question?
We're still in public testimony, not deliberations yet. We have to close public testimony before we start deliberating.
Okay, I just thought it was a long clarifying question, but I guess I'm wrong.
And then Mr. Crowley asked the question, and it kind of went back and forth. So that's all.
Okay.
We can just close it. I don't think there's any other testifiers, and then they can have that conversation.
I think they already did. So, James, do we have any other testifiers?
Chair, there's currently no one else signed up to testify. We'll do a last call. If there's anybody who'd like to testify on this item, please identify yourself now. On Teams, you can do that by raising your hand. We'll do a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Chair, there's no one else to testify.
Members, any objections to closing public testimony on this item and accepting written testimony? Okay, so we'll be taking both of them up, the other two items that we talked about. So do you want to continue your questions for Mr. Crowley, Member Paulton?
Well, I'm finished with my questions for Mr. Crowley unless he didn't get the answer to my last one, but that's pretty standard, like, public sentiment.
Member Johnson?
Okay, so right now, I think local home buyers should pay homeowner exemptions straight away because they now pay non-owner occupied up to like 18 months or something, really, worst case scenario. So I'd like to hear from the department on what suggestions or ideas they like so far. But I think right now, I would prefer to defer this, and then come November, we got something that we could all move on. That's my take on it. But I'd like to hear what they.
You mean come November, our next meeting? Oh, is that what you're talking about?
Sure, yeah. Just defer it after we hear this discussion and come back with something.
Sure. Who would like to answer that? Ms. Martin or Ms. Stockwell?
All right, so I do think all the different bills that are set forth have good ideas. I do think it does need to, like you said, we do need to start putting them all together because everybody has positives. There's positives to each one and there's negatives to each one. Administratively, if we set, like Chair Lee said, the workforce housing versus the short-term rental housing separately, that will help the division. So we would have clearer defined details on how we're doing this administratively. There are other parts of the section of the code that would need to be changed as well to look at. 3.48.450B is one thing that we will have to look at because that deals with date of recordation. We're going to have to look at the budget, and we're also going to have to work at the workload that, it will add in how we're going to administratively do this process. So there are a few questions that we do need to answer before this passes.
Would you be willing to send us in writing the Frankenstein version of this before, our next meeting? Because, I think if I can just echo the sentiments of the body, I don't want to write a bill you guys can't administer, We're trying to solve a problem, not create more. And the fact that there's people out there paying really high property taxes when they are living in them, doing everything proper. So I personally will sit down with you guys and hash it out, but,
Yeah, we'd be happy to work with, me and I'm sure Marcy would be happy to help and work with the council members as needed.
We'll set up a meeting. Yeah. Thanks, Chair.
So everybody, maybe at the next meeting, before the next meeting, please work on, if you feel that you have a suggestion to be made to make the bill even better, because we're trying to provide relief to those who, in Lahaina especially, will be buying STRs, former STRs, and because these are going to be affordable, so-called affordable homes, we want to make sure that they're not burdened with a high tax liability just as they're starting, And so how do we address that is what we're working on, pretty much in Bill 142. But 146 also covers those people. Okay, we have like a number of projects that the council approves every year, affordable housing. And so we pre-approve, and because we require the developer to provide X number of units that are clearly affordable, yeah? And so there should be some kind of mechanism where they can notify the finance department that these people who are qualified and will be moving into X subdivision may or may not hit that December 31st deadline. And from what we hear, most people don't, they always miss that deadline. And how do we provide them relief? Because many of them are struggling to even meet the qualifications, let alone pay some high tax bill the minute they move in. So, because my personal, I think I mentioned before, my personal experience is this young family were supposed to move in October, but because some kind of county permit was being held up, they didn't move in until January. And when they moved in January, they were handed a bill for $4,000, which they barely could afford. Instead of the following year, they paid $400. So we have to provide relief to these kinds of people because it goes along with our philosophy to help people occupy homes that are affordable and attain homes that are affordable. So that would be Bill 146. Okay. So if everybody can work together, think about it, come up with different suggestions. Oh, we might have the answer right here. Mr. Shikio.
Thank you, Chair, and I'm sorry for interrupting, and I hope this is not overstepping, but I just wanted to kind of discuss or put it out there that I have reviewed several of the bills. I have reviewed Member Johnson's bill, and then I've been working with Office on Consul Services to kind of resolve some of the issues because the bills are going to be your policy decision and what comes out. However, Chapter 3.48 is big and it's detailed. So as you are crafting your bills, if you could also keep in mind how 3.48, when does the tax year start and end? When is the first payment due and the second payment's due? Because I think that there was a little bit of confusion on those issues. Appeals, and as Member Rollins Fernandez mentioned, this also does affect your certified real property tax revenue when you're setting forth your budget. So as you're looking at potential deadlines, if you could keep that in mind as well. So that if there has to be tweaks to other portions or sections of the code, then we can also address it to make sure that your bill doesn't have any unintended consequences that we'd have to deal with later on. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Shikio? Oh, okay, Ms. Martin?
So I'll make one clarifying statement based upon Christina's statement. So this is, so currently the deadline for filing for exemptions is December 31st. So I'm just going to use this year as an example. December 31st, 2025. So your exemption will show up on July 1, 26. So that means you aren't covered for that February bill, February 26. So, and there's really not any way around that. So with the half-year exemption that the Big Island has, you can apply up to June 30th, I'm going to use this year, coming year again, June 30, 2026, and that would be for your January 1, 27 bill. So that wouldn't help you for your July 1 bill. So there's always going to be some lag in the terms of a half-year exemption or a full year.
Unless we come up with a solution.
Okay, well, and so that was where, because of the mechanics and because of the construction of the entire bill, that was where the discussion with Gabe about the fund set in, because then you're just, it's like a credit, not an adjustment or a new exemption. So that was the difference between the two. And then, again, that's by application, so I don't want you to forget about the late application bills that we have, just because people still may forget to apply. And then I wasn't aware that Bill 146 was going to be focused on, I'm going to use a broad category of kind of a deed-restricted type workforce housing. So I'm going to bring up an even bigger question, and then perhaps once those get deed restricted, they become exempt at that point, and then you're kind of, I guess you would be helping the developer to the point where they paid, but at least it would be preemptive for the new buyers. So that would be an entirely different exemption. So just, you know, if it was a new project.
Okay, so you're saying that one of the easiest way for you to administer this, this change is to have a fund that the council would provide you so that you could use that for payments that are due, and then you just credit people after that, after they file their exemption, for their exemptions.
I did not use the word easy.
No, but.
I'm sorry.
But of all that you've heard so far.
I think I'm just, I guess it depends on how aggressive. We would prefer the following the Big Island's methodology, because that's tested and tried, you know.
Yeah.
But if things went more precise, I guess, within the payment year, I would say that we could figure out a way to apply a credit that wouldn't unravel the code, so to speak.
Okay. Okay, everybody, we have our challenges. Member Sugimura?
Exactly what you're saying, that I hope you come and work with us for recommendations of, you know, how to time it. And I always get concerned about the department, because you don't have, I mean, the RPT, right? You don't have a lot of people, but this is a big responsibility. So I don't want to overburden you with, you know, we can dream all we want, but if it doesn't make sense, right? It'll become impossible. But this is too important for it to become impossible. So please shed that deadlines and be strict with us so that we know that, you know, we got to follow these certain rules, basically, or laws, to make it achievable.
Yes, but sometimes you have to think outside the box. You know?
I agree.
This is what we're trying to do.
Yeah, but what they're saying is the criteria that they're trying to get us to meet, I think is an important discussion that we cannot overlook. So we can.
Right, no, but
they can
we
work with
have
us.
all along kept in touch with the department. So has all the members who have proposals have been checking with them. But, you know, just because she tells me no the first time, that doesn't mean I'm going to say okay, you know? Anybody else has, Member Paulton?
I just wanted to acknowledge what a hard position you're putting our finance department in, because on one side you're saying, we're going to listen to you, and on the other side, we're not going to listen to you. So I just want to empathize with them and say I'm sorry for my colleagues.
No. But this is the reason why we need civil service reform, so that we can fill our departments with all the employees that they need, and they won't be shorthanded. Now, moving on. So, okay, we're going to defer. Any objection to deferring?
No objections.
11 and 7. And then, so now moving on to 9, testimony.
Yes, Chair, proceeding with testimony for RPTR 9. We have 2 people signed up to testify right now. The first is Tom Crowley, to be followed by the Royal House of Hawaii. Mr. Crowley, it's your time to testify.
Sorry, folks, I pushed the button and they didn't release. Chair, are we on Bill 144 now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. I was a big supporter of the blanket tax relief provided to all property owners affected by the fires. And I support continued tax relief for the fire areas for properties that have not been rebuilt or remain uninhabitable, and for businesses that remain closed because they've not yet been rebuilt or are in zones that cannot be accessed by the public. However, I don't understand continuing the tax relief for 2 additional years for homes that have now been rebuilt or homes that are now being, habited and businesses that have reopened. So that's strictly a policy decision, but I think that if their home is rebuilt and if their business is back up by the end of this year, then their taxes should resume at the beginning of next year. And I also question in this particular case, why are you pushing it 2 years out? And if you are going to extend this tax relief, why not extend it just 1 year at this point and then reevaluate where you are this time next year as to whether it should be further pushed out? Again, I want to be fair to everybody, but if someone has rebuilt their home and they're back living in it, or someone's home was in the yellow area and now they're able to access it and they're using it, why should we continue to provide tax relief? There is one issue that I don't know if we dealt with or not, and that is homeowner properties that were getting a homeowner exemption. If those guys don't rebuild their home immediately and we do resume, taxation on them, they would fall into non-owner occupied for just the land, and the total tax bill would go up tremendously. So we do want to make sure that the people who were living in their homes aren't going to lose their homeowner exemption at any point, whether, when taxation is resumed. Thank you, Chair.
Questions, members? Clarifying questions? No clarifying. Thank you very much, Tom. James?
Chair, the next person signed up to testify is the individual logged in as the Royal House of Hawaii, to be followed by Michael Williams.
Aloha, this is the Royal House of Hawaii and Alodio Land Tenant and Royal Heir under Heva Heva, Royal Patent, and Land Commission Award 3237 Apanatu. And I just, I agree with tax relief still, but a solution to all of that, in the later run kind, I think the greatest idea and the only greatest idea would be to contact the heirs of those specific lands, because as you know, in the area too is Kauikea O'Uli, Kamehameha III, that's where his aina stay, where he had go make all the royal patents for Hawaii. And since Hawaii is royal patented, there has to be a discussion with the heirs and descendants, no matter what. If the land was, for example, trying to be sold, trying to be changed into someone else's name from the original buyer. So I'm pretty sure all of the lands are frauded. Whoever is not on a royal patent or a descendant of the royal patent and land that they're on. Of course, we're not going to be kicking out the people. So the state should at least have acknowledgement and contact the descendants and the heirs, no matter what. Still, no matter what, if anything. And the royal patents need to be recognized, because I seen the tax map histories over there. There's no legal info. I don't know how come no more legal info. I still get the old legal info on top of them. I don't know why you guys stay erasing them for. But the royal patents have to be recognized, because they're not going to kick out anybody, people. Hello. I mean, maybe back then the sellout ones, yeah, but yeah, please follow Commandment Third Constitution and call up the descendants again and and wait and allow the allodial land tenants to have the say because it's by law. Allodial land tenants are supposed to be having a say if they represent themselves as an allodial land tenant. And yeah, okay, mahalo.
Thank you. Questions? Member Paulton?
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify what you said, like, how do we find them? Because we don't do people's genealogy. Like, you know, in the Bureau of Conveyances, Royal Patents, and Land Commission Awards, it says who it was initially awarded to, but we don't do everybody's genealogy. That's, to some people, that's very private information. So I'm not sure what you're asking or how to do
Nah,
it.
I don't think it's private information because we all royal. Everybody knows all the royals. You know what I mean?
Within my family,
well,
they don't want to go telling everybody their genealogy. And so then how would we find the descendants? Because not everybody broadcasts their genealogy is what I'm saying. That what you're asking is not really feasible.
There's the LDS, the church website. What is that called? Yeah, the church website, like Family Search, for example, a public and sourceable site because there's linked. There are also linked sources for like birth certificates, all of that. I mean, that's one, but you can certify it with the archives also to check if that's the correct person or whatever.
Okay. I don't really know how to do that.
Okay. Any more questions? If not, thank you.
I can help. If you guys need help, please feel free to reach out. Mahalo.
Thank you. Any more testifiers?
Chair, the last person signed up to testify is Michael Williams.
Good afternoon again. I would hope that you don't extend these exemptions any further. I'm thankful that Councilmember Sugi Mura got a letter setting out how much it costs. It's $22 million a year. I agree with Tom Crowley that if you are going to do it, you should just do it for one more year and not 2 more years. But what I want, and I also agree that if you haven't already done it, you need to make sure that anybody who was a non-owner occupied parcel owner or a long-term rental parcel owner will get that classification for their vacant land when you do start taxing it again. But I want to suggest there's a couple of groups of people that this bill is unfair to. One group is that a lot of people own vacant land near Lahaina, and they're getting taxed at the full market rate for that land. Some of that vacant land is literally less than a mile from the vacant land that you guys are proposing to extend tax breaks for. And then the other thing it's unfair to is it shifts $22 million in a tax burden to the rest of the taxpayers in the county, away from taxpayers that own property that's actually worth a lot of money. Anyway, I tried to convince you of this last year and I failed. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Member Paulton.
I wanted to clarify, so you're okay with extending it for people who have not yet been able to rebuild, but for people that have rebuilt or have been able to occupy it again, that's who you are saying don't waive the taxes?
No, I'm saying don't waive the taxes on anybody anymore. I mean, think about what those lots are worth along Front Street. They're worth $2 and $3 million a piece, and those people are very wealthy, and they're not paying any property tax to help support the rest of the county.
Yeah,
You know?
and the administration has blocked them from building for the last 2 years is why I'm questioning. I mean, it's not like they could just put in permits and like that.
not going to be taxed on a building they haven't got. They're just taxed on the land. And if they're a homeowner, they're going to get a $300,000 exemption on the land value.
But they're not.
Same with the
able to live
long-term
on it.
rental.
If there's no house, then they're not
Oh.
able to live on it.
But that's true of a lot of the other vacant land right around Lahaina. It's for one reason or another, it's not developable, but it's certainly being taxed.
I guess, I mean, my clarification is in the rebuild, people outside of the special management area, outside of the historic district, outside of the shoreline area, were much easier able to rebuild than people in the shoreline, people in the historic district, people in the special management area. So not everyone was given similar opportunities to move forward with their lives and rebuild. The easiest people that had the opportunity to rebuild was everyone above the highway. Everyone below the highway in Lahaina has had numerous hurdles that have not yet been even set up through no fault of their own. So clarifying, even with that knowledge, you still think they should be taxed?
Yes, I think they should be taxed on the value of their vacant land. It's worth a lot of money. And why should they be treated differently than owners of other vacant land around the county?
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Sure.
Anybody else? No more questions. Next testifier.
Chair, there's currently no one else signed up to testify on this item, so we'll do a last call. If there is anyone else who'd like to testify on our PTR 9 for Bill 144, please identify yourself now. On Teams, you can do that by using the raise hand function. We'll do a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Chair, there is no one else to testify.
Any objections to closing public testimony on this item and accepting written testimony? So ordered. So this is RPTR 9, Bill 144, which the purpose of which is to extend Maui wildfire property tax relief by continuing exemptions through June 30th, 2028. And this measure was introduced by Member Sugimura.
Thank you, Chair. So I wanted to explain why I came up with this proposal. And on the August 6, 2025 DRIP Committee, discussion about long-term recovery operations with the Office of Recovery was discussed. And I asked a question about rebuild of Lahaina's commercial properties. And at that meeting, if you recall, I think it was Managing Director who said they will. They are, January or something. The Office of Recovery Administrator noted that Lahaina's recovery has prioritized rebuilding homes, which we saw, and improving infrastructure, and that economic recovery programs for commercial properties will begin in January 2026. Towards the end of September, the focus of Lahaina's recovery has shifted to rebuilding Lahaina's commercial district, which we heard that they're now focusing on. And as noted in the bill, Lahaina's recovery inches forward, and there's still property owners who face ongoing hardship with recovery. At the beginning of September, 491 building permits have been issued, 285 homes were under construction, and 59 homes were rebuilt in Lahaina and upcountry. No commercial properties have been rebuilt and occupied. The wildfires have placed a financial burden on impacted property owners by extending tax relief that would provide support towards families and business owners. I did request comments from the Department of Finance and received a response from the department, and you may find a copy of the communication under Granicus Attachment Number 2. Based on the Finance's comments of Bill 144, I would like to request that 144 be deferred, or that we have a discussion and maybe defer it. The bill was not signed by Corp Counsel, and maybe Corp Counsel can talk about that and get comments from the department about this bill. But my focus was really to help the commercial properties that has been, as you know, no jobs, people will move, right? So there's economic impacts for this, and that residents' homes, which should be the focus to keep our residents safe, was the focus of the Office of Recovery and the county. But this bill basically talks about the commercial properties that are still waiting, as we hear often. So, if the department and Corp Counsel.
Finance? Either one. Go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. So I think some of our comments, and you can see our comments, have more to do with the properties in the red yellows.
Could you speak a little bit louder, please?
Sorry, so I think some of the comments that we had to do with properties in the red yellow zone. So for most properties in the burn zones, rights of way are open and infrastructure is available. Currently in the yellow zone, 44 parcels in the yellow zone have applied for long-term rental exemptions. 200 have the homeowner's exemption, have applied for the home exemption or have been granted the home exemption. I kind of looked on VRBO as well, and a lot of the properties, multiple properties are being listed on VRBO. So that was some of our concerns. If you blanket that red-yellow zone, is that, it's able to use now, it is open and available for the public. So that was one of our concerns for that red-yellow zone. And I just wanted to clarify, you did address in this bill, it does address that the exemptions that were in effect for the tax year 2024 would remain in effect through December 31st, 2028. So we would keep those as they were. So they would stand all the way through 2028 under this bill. Thank you.
Again, yeah.
Did you want to add something, Marcy?
I think, too, if you wanted to refine who the exemption was granted to, you could put clarifying language. So B talks about properties that were completely destroyed. So I think that would be your baseline. And then you would, if you wanted to exclude those properties that had a building permit issued after August 8th, 23, and has received a final permit approval, you could do that. And then where D is those properties that weren't destroyed. So if those can be occupied, then those would fold back on the roll. So the properties that are completed and the properties that didn't get destroyed and can be occupied could roll back on the roll, but we just have to provide clarifying language.
Okay.
Did you want to hear from Corp Counsel?
Yeah, I want to hear from Corp, because it's not
Mr. Shikio?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So I did not review the version of the bill that was posted, Bill 144. It is pretty broad, and I would need more time to review this version. If there are refinements, then I'd be happy to review those, any potential amendments.
Okay. So this discussion is really good, and listening to the testifiers, because, again, my intent was there's houses coming up, even in Kula. The commercial properties was my concern, as I said in my opening comments, because when I first started writing this, there was nothing going on. But recently, ending of September, there is something going on, but very little. So if you talk to the landowners who are the commercial landowners, they feel forgotten. So I wanted to be sure that we are able to ensure that they can keep their businesses, whatever they had going on their empty property, or whatever the intention was, that they don't feel like they're losing more money than they actually are, is really what's happening and what I'm hearing from the actual commercial property owners. And I wasn't really talking about residents because we are helping residents as much as we can, I hope. So if you're asking if Corp Counsel and the department can work with me and we can come up with a bill and we can defer this and come up on November 12th or 13th is your next meeting? I think 13th. Oh, you have another meeting tomorrow, sorry.
Well, I think that we don't need tomorrow.
Yeah, sounds
You don't have enough time to get with the departments.
Yeah. But if you don't mind, members, if I could take a crack at this and trying to figure out how to help the commercial property owners.
Tomorrow might be a good day for you to think about what changes you might want, as all of us have changes we have to make, and use the time to work on our proposals rather than in a meeting where we're going to talk about the same things again.
Okay.
Yeah.
And really important for me to have Corp Counsel, sign off on this and make sure that we are doing what we need to do. So thank you.
Okay, I think, is it November 12th and 13th?
I think
12th and 13th are the next two meetings,
after
and our last two meetings in November. Yeah.
Okay.
Member Paulton.
I guess, so my preference is that this wouldn't apply to any properties that were sold after August 8th, 2023, because they knew what they were purchasing into. They didn't lose anything, you know what I'm saying? So that would be number one, my preference, that it wouldn't apply to any properties that have been sold after August 8th, 2023. My question, maybe for a real property, can you remind me of red and yellow zone? Yellow zone was just restricted entry after the fire, but the house was still standing, and red zone was destroyed. Is that what it was? I just wanted to clarify.
Finance.
So we had completely destroyed properties.
It's red.
Was in the red zone. And then the properties on the outskirts of that became that yellow zone. So they weren't destroyed, but they were within, the infrastructure was closed down during that portion, went into that yellow zone. So anything with that infrastructure.
So I think by now the yellow zones, people are still, so I wouldn't support yellow zone.
So as of now, there's very little parcels in that. I'd have to relook at it, but I think there was about 142 parcels now in that yellow zone.
Oh, as the infrastructure comes back, it's taken out of the yellow
taken
zone.
off. So we get reentry maps and updated data. It was quite often, and we've been kind of keeping track of that. So we're down to very little parcels now in that yellow zone.
Okay, got it.
I think it's 142 parcels.
And then, like I mentioned in testimony clarification, it's not only commercial that has been hindered. There's people along the shoreline who've not been allowed to move forward. So if we're exempting commercial, everybody in the shoreline that hasn't been allowed to move forward should be included in that, as well as historic and SMA, because it's not that people haven't been trying, it's that the county is preventing them, same as they're preventing the commercial. So I think that's the divider for me, not whether it's commercial or residential. It's the people that have not been able to move forward because they're on the shoreline, because of all these other reasons, versus the people that, go through 4-leaf fast track and start going. That's the divider, not whether it's commercial or what, to me. And I think before Member Rollins Fernandez had her hand up.
Member Rollins Fernandez.
Mahalo, Member Paulton. Mahalo, Chair. My question is for you, Chair. You just said that our next Raptor Committee meeting is November 12 and 13. I thought that was when first reading of Bill 9 is going to be.
Yeah, now that I think about it, 12 is the first reading for Bill 9, but we have, maybe it's the 17th, 18th, what? Oh,
Okay, well, I mean, you can come back to this question after. I just wanted to clarify because the date has been moving around a lot, and that would be the first that I'm hearing that first reading date has been changed. So you can go to Member Sugimura because I think she wanted to kind of continue the discussion that Member Paulton was having.
so just
then
for
we can get-
clarification, we are having the first reading on November 12th
Correct.
for Bill 9. In the afternoon, I think, you said in the afternoon, we continue Raptor, and then the next day as well. That's for everybody. Okay, Member
But you
Sugimura.
think we're getting first
When?
reading in half a day?
Yeah, I know.
We can always dream.
I like to dream too, but I also am realistic. And as I stated in my email that I sent last month, I am leaving the country again on the 13th. So I'm not going to be here if you guys are going to recess Bill 9 for a later time.
Wow.
And so that whole thing is not being planned out well. So if that could be planned out.
Actually, today's TIG meeting ended really early.
But that's also not Bill 9. That's just.
I know, but it seemed very not contentious. You know, it seemed like people were resigned to whatever the council comes up with. It sounded, I don't know, it didn't sound very like we would have a hard time, but now that I've said it, I've probably jinxed the whole thing.
Yeah.
Good one, Chair.
Yeah,
You gotta go like this.
yeah, all my fault.
I don't know. There hasn't been YouTube ads on Dig Report. There's been YouTube ads on Bill 9. So.
Okay, so anyway, the council meeting, the special council meeting on the 12th, don't worry about the Raptor meeting. We can keep going on the council meeting as long as we want. Yep.
Good.
Okay. So you had your hand up?
I did.
Member Sugimura.
Yeah, so thank you, Member Rollins Fernandez. So based upon what Member Paulton just said, I wanted to know if finance would be able to have this kind of data. So what she said that, I was looking at commercial, but she said also the historic area, SMA, shoreline, and so it's not only commercial. Can you get that data?
Okay, you
To
guys are going to
expand.
work on this separately, right?
Is that available? Yeah.
Go ahead. You can answer her
I just
now.
wanted to know in general.
Yeah, that would be available. If
Okay.
you could just give that
So
to
we
us
can-
in writing, we can get that to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Any more on that item?
We'll be back. Thank
So we're on, so any objections to deferring
No objections.
RPT 9,
No objections.
RPTR 9? So now on the last item, Bill 145,
Yeah.
James?
Chair, proceeding with testimony on RPTR 10 for Bill 145. The first person signed up to testify is Tom Crowley.
Aloha, one more time. Bill 145, I certainly understand an upcountry property owner with a vacant parcel who's unable to obtain a water meter, being frustrated by taxation that's on his lot that he can't develop. Very similar to what you were just discussing about in town. But this issue really should be addressed, and I think real property tax will tell you that it is addressed in the assessed value of that property. I would be afraid that if we gave them a $50,000 exemption, then real property tax would say, okay, now I'm going to value your property the same as somebody who does have a water meter. And $50,000 wouldn't even be close to the reduction in value of that property by not being able to develop it. So you need to have a discussion with RPT as to how they do this. But when a vacant property upcountry that can't be developed is assessed, its value is way lower if it doesn't have infrastructure to be built. And I don't think that it needs an additional exemption. And then, like I say, I'm afraid the additional exemption could turn into make it even more difficult to assess the value. So I'm not in support of this, even though I definitely would give a break to these folks who have properties that they are stuck and can't develop. Thank you, Chair.
Questions, members? No questions? Thank you very much, Tom. James?
Chair, the next person signed up to testify is the individual logged in as the Royal House of Hawaii.
Aloha, this is Alorio Land Tenant and Royal Patent Heir under Heva Heva, Land Commission Award 3237, Royal Patent 7447. And I just wanted to ask and clarify, because I was wondering if this person is an heir of that exact royal patent that is over there, and if he filed the paperwork as a for heirship, and clarifying that it is Ohana's Aina, because if he never did any of that and cannot prove that he is a descendant and an heir, that land shouldn't even be going to him, and that land shouldn't even be going to you guys. I mean, it's only supposed to go back to the heirs on the royal patent. And there's 3 different lands in Hawaii. There's crown land for all the people. There's regular royal patented lands, and then there's government lands. And it needs to be, by law, given back to the royal patent heirs and descendants. Hawaii Revised Statute 172-11. You guys aren't even following the are you guys' own law. There's paperwork already filed from all the Ohanas already. I don't know why it's not being recognized. Even though if they sold the land and that person bought the land and trying to switch the name to somebody else or sell it, it's supposed to go back to the original patent, which is the Royal Patent Land Commission Award from Kamehameha III, Kauikeaouli, where the fires happened. That's where his house is. But yeah, I just wanted to, what is that called? Remind you guys about that again, about the Royal Patent, Real Property Land Commission Awards. Mahalo.
Thank you, members. Are there any questions? No questions. Thank you, James.
Chair, there's currently no one else signed up to testify on this item, so we'll do a last call. If there is anyone else who'd like to testify on RPTR 10 for Bill 145, please identify yourself now. On Teams, you can do that by using the raise hand function. We'll do a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Chair, there is no one else to testify.
Any objections to closing public testimony on Bill 145 and accepting written testimony? So ordered. So Bill 145, 2025 establishes a real property tax exemption for vacant landowners on the Upcountry Water Service Priority List. And this proposal is by Member Sugimura.
Thank you, members. I will tell you that this did come from constituents calling my office, and so that's where this thought came from. Bill 145 creates a real property tax exemption for parcels on the Department of Water Supply's Upcountry Water System Priority List. It offers targeted relief during a long meter queue. The Upcountry list exceeds 1,400 parcels, with some applicants waiting since 2003. Many parcels cannot obtain meters because of water infrastructure limits, yet owners still face rising property taxes. This exemption acknowledges these taxpayers' patience and hardship. If the assessed value, vacant land value is $50,000 or less, the parcel receives a full exemption. If the assessed value is more than $50,000, the parcel receives a $50,000 max exemption. The exemption is limited to 1 parcel per taxpayer, excludes corporations, partnerships, and companies, and requires an annual application submitted by December 31st for the upcoming tax year. If eligibility ends mid-year, the exemption is revoked and taxes for the entire year are recalculated without the exemption. Thank you, Chair.
Interesting. Okay, any comments, questions, members? Member Paulton?
I'd like to hear what the finance department has to say.
Finance Department? You both can feel free to give your comments.
All right, so currently, real property, when we assess values, we do take into account if they have a water meter or not. So that is done through the assessment process. So a vacant property with a water meter versus a vacant property without a water meter, we take paired sales analysis to see what the discount should be. And like Mr. Crowley said, we do a discount for properties that do not have a water meter. So we are doing that currently. So we are giving that exemption. They are getting a lowering of value, which would then in return create a lowering of taxes that they would need to pay for that property. So an exemption would almost be like a double dipping. We'd be giving them
In order to not double dip, would you assess it as though it had?
Well,
would you assess it differently?
No, because that they have a deficiency in that property, and we have to assess at highest and best use, and that would be, we'd have to assess without the water meter and everything. So we do that to properties all across the county. So there's the upcountry
Equality.
Properties aren't the only properties that can't get water. We have properties in Kakaloa, we have properties, there's properties all over the county that can't get water, and we do this for everybody. So it's we treat all the properties without a water meter equitably and give them that discount at that time.
And as any fire survivor has heard ad nauseum, no double dipping.
Isn't this
Thank you.
similar to
I'm
the
done.
one that we brought up in the beginning?
143.
Or is there a distinction?
Oh, the empty land.
Well, it is similar in the sense that all properties in a similar state should be treated the same. I did just want to bring one clarifying question, is that, so this code would be 3.48.463, which falls in the filing requirements under 3.48.410. So would mean you would expect them to apply.
Say it again? What did you say? I'm sorry.
So under 3.48.410 filing requirements, it states sections 3.48450 through 3.48466 is subject to filing requirements. And so if this is 3.48.463, they would be subject to the filing requirements, that it wouldn't be automatic. I'm just pointing that out.
Oh, I see, yeah. Okay, double dipping. So we don't want double dipping. Sorry, it was not explained to me like that. That was not the intention, but it really was to hear out, the concerns of the constituents who called, talking about the inequity. So maybe, do you explain to them when they get their real property tax bill, or is there an explanation as to why?
Ms. Martin?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I will defer to Carrie as well, but please tell anyone who does complain to you, just call us. If you have a unique property like that, it really behooves you to call us and let us review the property.
Yes, please call us, because, we try to keep all our records correct, but every once in a while there is a property that doesn't have water that we didn't realize didn't have water at that time. So as soon as they call us, we can correct it, make the changes needed, and we can show them that they do have that discount. And if they didn't have the discount, what their value would be. But because they do have a discount, this is how much lowering of values that happens. So that really helps when they can actually see that this person is paying this amount, is assessed at this value and paying this taxes, but because they don't have a water meter, we are taking that into account. And we do acknowledge that and recognize that there is a deficiency in their property.
In writing? I mean, do they get that in writing?
They can if they want it. We will email them, and if they ask us to email them, we can email them the amounts and everything. Their property record card, we'll give that to them. That's their property. Yes.
Member Johnson?
Oh, some of my questions were answered by the department. Thank you so much. But I figured I'd ask Corporation Counsel. It's
Corporation
not signed.
Counsel?
Is that double dipping part of the concerns?
I think that's part of the concerns, if that would need to be fleshed out. If that's the intention of, going forward with this bill, we'd have to figure out a way to make it equitable for everyone.
Yeah.
But I've also been informed by finance too that they're not taking any new, is that correct? Any new applicants to this water system list.
Water meter.
The water meter,
Yeah.
the water meter list. So then there's an equity issue there as well between those that were able to get on the list previously or still on the list, and those that could qualify for the list if it were still open. So then again, they would receive a different tax benefit. But I believe that they already get those adjustments to the valuation.
So interesting.
So department, is that true that if there's a parcel that can't get on the list because they're not accepting the list, do you lower it even more because they're not on the list? There's no light at the end of the tunnel for these folks. I know, right? It's even worse for those guys.
Ms. Stockwell?
So that we make an adjustment for all parcels that it's not based on if you're on the list or not. It's just if you have if you're able to, if you have a water meter or don't have a water meter or a catchment, because there are properties.
Right.
So once you cure your deficiency, you no longer qualify for that adjustment. So if there are people in a catchment, so once they get that catchment put in, then they know that water has been cured, so they no longer, even if they don't have a water meter, they are not eligible for that discount. So it's not based off they're on the water meter list. That does help us to see if, that's one check for us, but no, that doesn't change our evaluation.
Well, I appreciate Councilmember Sugumar's concerns for your community, but that sounds like a can of worms. Do you plan to defer that, Councilmember Sugimar? Okay.
Yeah.
What's your plan with this bill?
I think we can't proceed if I hear double dipping.
Yeah.
But I give us your phone number so that the people listening can call you.
Well, at the very least, you would be giving them information that there is a possibility that their assessment could be adjusted downward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as they understand what's going on. I mean, I didn't realize all of this till now.
All right, that brings us to the end of the agenda.
Okay.
And we passed out one item? But at the next meeting, we're going to pass them all out, or at least dispose of all of them one way or the other, okay? And this is very good because when it's budget time, we'll have fewer issues on real property. We will have taken care of a lot of things aside from the budget time. Because you know how in budget time, it's really hard to take care of issues that should be done not during budget time. Okay, any last comments or questions? Now, one more time, when is our next meeting? Oh, I know it. There's no need for a meeting tomorrow. Okay, we thought maybe this could have gone long and set the meeting for tomorrow, and so there's nothing to do for tomorrow. What would be helpful is all of you work on your changes or new proposals with finance or anybody else, the Corp Council, and be ready for November 12th, right?
Chair, apologies, just real quick, could we clarify if that last item, is it deferred?
Yes, I said deferred, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Did I say filed? Do you want to file it? Any objections to filing the last item? You can ask me to keep it alive, but this committee is not going to be alive after. This is only for a set period of time. So,
Chair, and
yes, Member Rollins Fernandez.
yeah, I have an objection to filing it. I'd rather just like let it defer and die than like to have OCS staff do the work of doing a CR to file it so that we can take action on it. Just leave it in committee and let it die.
Okay, we could do that too and let it auto-file at the end of the term. Okay? Any objections to that?
But
Yes.
Chair,
Yes.
no objection. I heard you again say that we're having a Raptor meeting on November 12th.
I'm just double checking.
I thought you just said we weren't.
Chair, perhaps staff could just touch base with you afterwards, and we may need to reevaluate when the next meeting might be. I think the pollings that occurred for the November RPTR meetings might have occurred prior to the scheduling of the Bill 9 meeting.
But nothing is impossible, see? First priority is the council meeting. If we believe we're gonna take more time with the council meeting, we can open the meeting and recess this one, and then take as long as we want with the council meeting. So don't worry about that. Because we set aside 2 days, the 12th and the 13th, so we have the whole day on the 13th to take up
It did
Raptor.
take like 5 days in committee.
What's that?
It did take us 5 days in committee
Oh, you mean for Bill 9?
for Bill 9. 5 days.
Yeah. Okay, but you have to think positive, okay? Think positive. All right?
I am generally positive, but I'm also realistic. So what you're telling me is we're going to post an agenda for Raptor on November 12th at 1:30. But if Bill 9 special council meeting is still going, that we're going to call the meeting to order at 1:30 and then recess it to another date.
Well, you have to realize that we have had a real challenge scheduling and balancing all these balls in the air. Raptor was scheduled before the council meeting. And then we had to move we had to move that Bill 9 meeting all over the creation. And so even today, they took half of my day today. Today, we had this scheduled for all day today and all day tomorrow. And then they took half a day from each day, today and tomorrow. So being the good sports we are, we accommodated everybody. So since we did it today, we can also do it on November 12th. So trust me, Bill 9 is the priority.
Okay. Yep. I gave up my whole committee day for the TIG report that only took half a day, which is fine. I'm not complaining about that. I am complaining about Bill 9 being rescheduled and scheduled all over the place because it was supposed to be October 13, then October 28, and then November 12, and hopefully it remains November 12th. And then second reading, I guess, on December 5th or something. But okay.
Right. You know, I can understand how everybody might be upset about that, but believe me, it was beyond our control, honestly. All right, members, if there's nothing else, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, and no meeting tomorrow.